Good.
Why don't we talk about what stayed the same, at least just recap from last time.
Yeah, we can go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the things that stay the same are going to be. I want to pull up the map actually. And I want to go live before we actually.
Yeah.
Take it away. Like, make some announcement. We're starting.
Take it away, Jim.
Whenever you're ready to.
Yeah. What's the Capstone 2 called? The Temple?
Fallen Temple?
Okay, yeah. Wanted to get that there. Okay. Oh, all right. Jeez. Sorry, waking up late, things are just behind.
Well, you stayed up pretty late, Jim.
I stayed up watching Evan do the Sork speedrun. So
he was doing it the entire time that I went to bed and woke up.
I know.
It's a big grind, man. Everybody's going crazy for the leveling now.
Dude, so if you haven't seen, Sork speedruns are down to like 2 hours and 22 minutes. Solo.
That's fucking nuts.
The trios we did it in 2 hours and 4 minutes. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Is that still with 10 skill points, or is that like season start?
And that was with a 5-minute butcher kill, so it could be sub 2.
Okay.
Yeah, we were wasting time on that.
Yeah, the skill points, it is still with 10 skill points, but if you're comparing it to a season 1 start, you're actually going to have access to your aspects a little bit sooner than you would in the traditional speedrun, since the rules dictate you have to wait until level 25 before you can start putting your aspects in. So it kind of balances out at the end of the day. I mean, yeah, the official speedrun rules are going to be faster just because you have access to unlimited materials, basically. But if you're efficient with the start of season 1, I think you could keep pace pretty well, especially starting out with all the renown and potentially experience, gold, all that kind of stuff. So,
yep.
Your leveling kind of stays the same, and the capstone gets pushed back slightly, and that's about it.
Yeah, but we're going to do a run today with only 5. So.
Yeah, but so the current time is just 2 hours basically to reach T3 with season specific requirements, right? Like 5 skill points and none of that stuff.
Yeah, just north of 2 hours.
Holy shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some practicing to do.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to do a run after the podcast to kind of try out some stuff. But
we have a lot of testing still.
Yeah.
So in the early game, the Sorks are really tearing it up, it seems like, with access to teleport. And from what I've seen, I did the Rogue, and I got 3 hours flat just about on Rogue, which I thought was pretty good until I saw some of these Sork times. They're just crazy. But I think Sork evens out, in the end game. I think it falls off maybe a little bit there, where Rogue kind of just starts strong and stays strong. So that's kind of the current state right now.
Yeah, the other thing,
a lot of the same. Go ahead, John.
I was gonna say the other thing about Rogue starting is that you can route to the strongest. Well, I think the strongest aspect for Rogue with the twisting blades, and you can get it really early on in a level 12 zone. Whereas Sork's like Prodigies is in like a level 35 area or something. Or is it Prodigy? But anyway, like that's the mana like back when you use a cooldown. Or it might be in a 25 area.
No, that's in a 35 zone. That's down in Hauzar.
Yeah. And then so like you have just like those are things that are going to be different from the season versus like speedruns. Because in speedruns we have the full codex once we hit 25, whereas on season start you're going to have whatever you unlock in your codex, and then you can use it as soon as you unlock it. So yeah, that gets pretty crazy. Like really fast.
And like the sorcerers are just like carrying so far ahead, also in groups because of mainly the fireball enchantment, right? Do you guys think with the patch? I mean, obviously it's speculation, but do you think that needs a nerf, or is there any chance we're gonna see a change? Maybe it's not proccing zone wide or anything.
It seems sort of not intentional that it's working for the whole party, but it's been on the radar for quite a while. So it doesn't seem like Blizzard if they were going to patch it, maybe they would have done it already. But it seems like an unintentional effect, maybe for classes that aren't Sorked to be benefiting from that fireball enchantment. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's weird because like we've known about it since beta. They haven't mentioned it or said anything about it, so I have no idea.
Yeah, let's see. I think everybody's hyped for this patch. It might change everything again.
Yeah.
Definitely will, for sure. They already said that it's the biggest patch that they've ever released, right? So
yeah, it's going to shake things up for sure. And I mean, only having 2 days to plan out a route is kind of the reason why I wanted to have a good general understanding of what we should be doing, and then we can make adjustments really quickly in 2 days' time. So,
have you guys done many of those runs with maybe a barber or druid as well, or is it mainly like the 3 other classes: necro, sorcerer, rogue?
the first couple runs we had Barb and Druid with us, and they synergize really well. They're really good, like team players. You know, I think every single class can fit with all the other classes pretty well. I think all their abilities kind of work together surprisingly really well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have Sork's control aspect, and it's hard for Sorks to get immobilized, but you have the Poison Creeper from Druid. You have, Corpse Tendrils from Necro that can stun, and then Sork can freeze, and so you have all 3 right there, and you can triple dip on that aspect.
Yeah. Probably the worst team player is the rogue. They don't really synergize with the team too well unless you're running a lot of CC and stuff like that. But we do plan on launching with a barb on our team, and our run later is going to involve a barb. One of the better, definitely like team boost characters. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, especially with all the barb buffs coming in Tuesday.
Yeah,
hopefully.
You don't want to load up too much on one class because you never know what the patch is going to do, or even a shadow patch, or what they're going to do quickly. I know it probably won't be as bad as it was at launch with the shadow patches and insta nerfs. I think we've seen a lot more maybe after the first launch season than we did in the past. So hopefully we won't get as much as those, but you never know. You don't want all your eggs in one basket, right? It's good to diversify your playstyle because you might discover something new, or once we see what the Malignant Hearts are going to do, one Malignant Heart, it could be enough to set a class, so far past what we've seen at this point that you really don't know what it's going to look like in endgame. So you want to be diversified a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be some kind of like bleed damage or poison damage that's just going to absolutely be broken again. I'm like, no,
yeah, the dots are pretty crazy, but it's so super cool just to have the party synergy there and so much new stuff to experience with those Malignant Hearts. And do you guys think that you're gonna like try this like super early on, because like obviously we can't test the season mechanic, and maybe we're gonna like get it like at level 5 or at level 8, and it's gonna maybe like even change the entire strategy, or maybe even it has a dungeon like this Malignant Tunnel or whatever. Maybe it gives a lot of XP. There could be many crazy things. Do you guys want to like give that a shot? Like you just go there, or you like stick to the strategy that you already that is working?
We talked about it a little bit last time. We want to go for them, man. I mean, think about what you're giving up for some of these hearts, right? In your rings slots, at least at the minimum. Like you may not want to sacrifice your weapon sockets for crit damage, but what you're sacrificing a little bit of armor from your skulls, like. Put a Malignant Heart in there and see what you're capable of doing. I mean, that's potential for so much more damage or buffs than was ever really possible. Gems don't do a lot for me in the ring slot specifically, so I'll be looking to keep some Malignant Hearts in there for sure. What do you guys think?
Remember, he's a rogue player, so
the Sork player's crying in the corner, man. Even less
Sork and
armor
Necro.
now.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Sork and Necros are going to have a rough time.
Are dying while you're just laughing. Yeah.
I think they're
Wait, we're not all rogues here? What the heck? No, Rob is.
We might be.
Or Rob was thinking about it
Rogue,
last time.
Necro, Bob. I don't know yet, man. We will see where the buffs land.
Yeah. So I guess like the changes that they're making to the classes is going to determine what you want to play, Rob.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I really want to play bar, but right now, because I also want to have a chance of like winning or competing in the race, and I think right now bar is just not a good choice for that because I mean we already know it's very bad in leveling, and I think it's kind of okay in mid game, but it's also not really that great in end game if we compare it to a druid or something or to a twisting blade rogue. So I think I would just be like handicapping myself a lot if I start Barb with the current patch. But then again, on the 18th, everything may change. Like right now, I'm leaning towards Necro or Rogue.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
All
one
right,
question. One question about that
okay.
actually. Last question. Do you think dropping the Necro in the group could be anything you ever want to do? Because it feels like the Necro just has this crazy synergy with the tendrils, like grouping them, making them vulnerable, slowing them, stunning them. I just feel like the group is like or at least the current strategy with the Kor Dragan and the Stronghold farming in general is just so reliant on the corpse tendrils. Would you ever drop the Necro?
You could, but you also need to figure out how to group the mobs efficiently without corpse tendrils.
Yeah.
It can be done. It becomes more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
And rogues are in melee, so they're taking a lot of extra damage.
Yeah.
Do you have like a class in mind that could maybe pull off the pull similar to the Necro?
Not in the same way. I think if you are going to be trying to do these pulls, you're going to need it to kite more so than do the big pull and then like everyone just crush them. You're going to have to use the obvious mentality of the mobs. Like some of these mobs are just going to run at you, right? Like the little ghouls, all they do is sprint directly at you, while the vampires like kind of stay far away and shoot from afar. But all of them work off of line of sight, so you kind of got to kite them into a like corridor where they try to maintain line of sight on you, and then they group up automatically.
Mm-hmm.
It it's more difficult. It takes longer than just forcing it down. Uh, and yeah, I don't know. It's a trade off. You know, you could probably get a little bit more kill speed out of it that way, but you make your job that much more difficult.
Yeah, Necro is pretty easy. Good quality of life.
Yeah, especially if you haven't practiced the run, I think Necker will be almost a necessity in your group
Yeah, that's what I
for
thought.
grouping
Mm-hmm.
mobs. Yeah, if you've done a lot of practice like us, you could probably get away with it, and work on just staying alive. It gets kind of chaotic in there, but
Just have one of your rogues go death trap. You're good.
yeah, could incorporate that as well. Anyways, so we've had to adjust some things on our run, especially with like some of the new. Well, for speed running, we've definitely adjusted a lot, and I'm not sure if I want to adjust too much on the season start because you want to have the renown for the extra skill point, which is pretty easily obtainable, and it gets a little awkward if like things change a lot with the new season. So I don't know. The routing is going to be really interesting to see like what we might have to do if something were to occur.
So the assumption
like pretty
right
drastically.
now. So right now the assumption is like it's like a maybe like a side quest line for to unlock the hearts or the season theme. Like, would you do this like I don't know, like I remember the first steps that you guys showed. Would you like consider doing it right after that, like just out of Kyovashot?
Yeah. So on the D4, I mean, I like to use Maxwell's new interactive map, which is freaking awesome.
Mhm.
And looking at side quests in Kyovashad right off the rip, there's Raising Spirits and Ministered Coffers that we're looking at. I don't know if we mentioned this last time.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. And those two are just like almost instantly done, especially cheering on the. Everybody knows about cheering on the soldiers, but the Ministered Coffers also gets you up next to the Ministered waypoint later for the Kor Dragan farming. So, doing that and getting that waypoint at the same time is, I mean, that's like an easy 20 renown for getting the side quest done, and another 20 renown for the the waypoint right there. So
Also, another quest to keep in mind that's also in that area is Gold Well Spent. It's a quick little elite that you kill, and it's one and done real fast. Go up, kill them, come back, and you get 3 gems out of that. So if you're hurting for gems, as you're walking into that capstone, that could be like a last ditch. Hey, I don't have any skulls in my amulets, which I never do, or you don't have any emeralds in your weapon, or you're hurting for health, and you want to get that ruby. That's a pretty good gamble to get 3 gems real fast.
point. Yeah, it's you also acquire that in Ministad. So like when you're picking up the waypoint right then and there,
You
just
should do it as
grab that
late as
side quest.
possible, because the higher level you are, the higher gems you're going to get. So if you do
Good
it
point,
right when
yeah.
you walk in, you're going to get crude, and then you do it like right before. I think chipped's the mid tier.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry.
That's kind of what you're looking for walking into the capstone. Unless you're 40, if you're 40, you want the actual normal gems, which you can and often do drop in the capstone itself. So
Yeah. Another thing that people like to mention on our speed runs is getting the elixirs. The elixirs definitely do help. The problem for a season start is you're not going to have the materials for it. And also, if you do end up spending your materials on an elixir, that's probably one less potion upgrade you're going to get, because there's not a whole lot of material or like Galavine that we're routing into our run. So
And a note for solo players, I assume most people watching and listening are probably going to be solo players. I know like the real blasters always line up a group, but we have a lot of solo players. Elixirs on a solo playthrough are just not really going to be the most useful, due to if you're trying to optimize, there's going to be a lot of like leaving the game and coming back, and that's going to drop your elixir off. So it's not really something that you have to worry about too much for a solo player anyway, because they'll end up getting wasted more times than not. Maybe save up for when you do your capstones and use them there.
Mhm. But mainly on the way, like let's say you're doing these like events, open world events. Like if you see any clickable, any like Galavine or anything, like do you always call it out for the entire group and then everybody goes there? Is that worth it usually?
if it's close to the event, yeah.
Okay.
If it's like midway through the run to the event, and we all know that everyone else is shopping while the guy that's running out to the event is just sprinting there,
Mhm.
it's not going to really matter.
Okay,
That's
but
gonna
in
be
general, if it's
kind of
like
a
within the
waste.
range, within the XP range, it's definitely worth picking up as much as you can.
Yep.
In terms of materials, and so
That
you can
2 screen.
So do you do in your run, do you craft this elixir of, I think it's manslaying and then undead for the T3 capstone? I've seen a lot of people do that just to make it a little bit easier, or maybe to be able to do it a bit earlier. Do you guys do that in your run?
Yes, for the elixir of undead slaying is for the curator,
Mhm.
and then elixir of manslaying is for the fallen temple Elias.
yeah, those materials may be difficult to get, because I mean I think some of them take like stuff from like Halzar or something, and we're not really routing down there, or Kyrgyzstan. Not much routing
Yeah,
going
so
down there
realistically,
either.
we're not gonna have that option.
Yeah, I think 36 is probably best left for the speed runs. I think for the season start, we're looking closer to like level 40 capstone, I would imagine.
Like
The
38.
Yeah, we
I
did
think
we
we
did
can-
like 38 in one of our last runs. I thought, I mean, that was like a 3-hour run. It's not close to you guys this time, but that felt pretty comfortable after like level 38. It was very doable.
Yeah, and I mean it's a pretty rude awakening if you haven't gone like done Kor Dragan farming, and it's like, okay, we're killing stuff. It's kind of tough. Some stuff's like really heavy in CC and can kill you, and then you go into like we're going to like just blast through this cathedral light where mobs are, you know, more than 10 levels above you, and you get in there and you just get smacked. And I've seen like so many new speedrunners go into it thinking, oh, I'll get all these, you know, these aspects on. I'm gonna be OP going into it, and then you just get two tapped, and you're like, well, what? How? And it's like, yeah, you gotta you gotta go in with a pretty good mindset of like what you're running into in there.
And then I feel here we are at it again, right? Like, I mean, maybe those malignant hearts that we gonna collect even before we go to the T3 capstone gonna like lower this level requirement. Maybe if one heart gives us 30% damage or something, we can do it like 2 or 3 levels at like 35 or something, maybe even, right? So there's just a lot of stuff to just like where you have to adapt on the fly depending on what the season theme is gonna do. If it's gonna be crazy, who knows?
Yep. So I saw you guys talking about like you should be on Worldtier 1 instead of Worldtier 2. I think that matters for each individual group. Like I was saying, like Barb and Druid have a much rougher time in the early game. So dropping down to Worldtier 1 about the levels you guys were at, about 23, 24, 25, somewhere in there might be better for them. But I think starting, you definitely want to be on Worldtier 2. Because starting out, you're going to have at least 5 skill points. And I mean, you're just going to be that much stronger going into a start. And you're going to have all the altars of Lilith. So you're going to have all the extra stats and all 5 skill points compared to when you first started on launch. And on launch, I think we all thought Worldtier 1 was better than Worldtier 2 just because
probably was.
Yeah. And so now with this extra power going straight into it, you're just going to blast on Worldtier 2 up until a certain point. Yeah. Especially if you don't get a weapon.
I think it's Onyx Watchtowers when you got to get a reality check if you're going in there really early. You can easily get one shot by the mobs if you get a big pull, which is kind of what you want to do to farm it efficiently. So yeah, if you're breaking all 3 of the cages and you're fighting all of the elite mobs all at once, Worldtier 1 might be the play if you haven't had a lot of practice with that, and also you're running either a very squishy comp or a comp that doesn't have enough CC plus damage to take them out before they, do their charges, the bears slam you, or that one assassin just poisons you to death.
Yeah. So on that note, I think it's important to know when you're jumping up to a larger level difference than you're used to. So the route is designed so that you're almost always fighting something that's 2 or more levels above your current level, right? So when we're going into the strongholds, those have a minimum level that are sometimes higher. So you'll be fighting level 20s when you're at level 15. I recommend when you're about to go in and start something that is a much higher level than you, check the shop. You might be able to upgrade your gear, pretty quickly, pretty easily. Some of that stuff's going to be a little expensive at the start of a season if you're not selling, but it's just a nice way to get like a little boost because you want to be thoughtful about the gear you have on because that defense is really what's going to be keeping you alive. So or the armor, right? So
and the route really prioritizes Obols. The route really prioritizes Obols.
Can gamble.
So when you get into that area that's really causing you problems, that's time to use them.
So 2 questions on that. I mean, like on Worldtier 1 versus Worldtier 2, I felt obviously in the open world it's kind of easy on Worldtier 2. But then when you get into some of the instance content that you mentioned, like the monster level is way higher than your character level. Like it's good for XP. It also makes it pretty rough. And I felt like on some of the strongholds that you do only once for your renown, I felt Worldtier 1 could be a worthwhile options for some players, especially like Barbs and Druids in the group or even for solo players. Because the closing XP, I mean, you're gonna ring the bell on those ones you want to finish for your renown, and it's the same on Worldtier 1 and Worldtier 2, and you just only have a 20% XP difference in the actual stronghold, so you're not even if you take the total XP, you maybe lose 10% XP, Worldtier 1 versus Worldtier 2 in a Stronghold, if you finish it. And the monsters have 50% more HP. So I feel like there it could definitely be, if you don't have like a fully, 4-man blaster team, definitely worthwhile to go in Worldtier 1, I think. And on the Obols, I wanted to ask, like, when do you guys gamble the first time? Because I know you have a lot of events in these routes. And do you think there's like, I don't know, some sweet spot, like, I don't know, level 20 or whatever level works out well to get some kind of breakpoints for some nice item? Because I noticed, like, if you do it like very, very early on, like, you only get blue items basically, or like there's almost no chance to get a yellow or legendary.
20 is a good number. It's really when you have a weak weapon and you haven't been able to find a new good upgrade, I think is the main thing. But I think 20, 30, and 35 are all good breakpoints to check to see what kind of weapon you have at that point. And then if you're underperforming, then that's a good time to jamble.
Yeah, I agree with those level breakpoints. The only thing to note is that if you start trying to get like something that you want to put an aspect on, then you want to be gambling probably around 25, because once you get to item power 400 or higher, you start to require mats that require a legendary salvage. Like the coiling ward is like for armor. The what's the weapon? Baleful fragment or something? But yeah.
Yep.
While we're on the topic of gear and items, have we reviewed at all the like the super unique mobs that you want to look out for on your class?
Oh,
we haven't really covered it, but yeah,
I think it's important, especially for a season start.
Yeah, so there's one guy that drops a dagger for the rogue on your way to your class specialization.
No, that is a sword.
The sword.
Well, yeah, sure.
Dark sword.
Dark sword you can use on the rogue. It's not maybe specific for you, but
oh, it's a sword.
So just for everybody watching, like the super unique, these are the rares, the yellows that like blink on the map, and you're discussing if this would be worth picking on the way. Yes, like to maybe a specific quest to get a nice boost.
I think if you have all 4 people together, it could be worth, because the drop rates were nerfed significantly.
Yeah, chat is saying it's like 33% drop rate.
Yeah,
so
it's 1 in 3.
That dropped to 1 in 3.
Yep.
So would you then even like repeat farm it, or just do it once, and if you get it, okay, it's fine, and if not, well, we just keep going?
I don't think it's worth sitting around waiting for them to
if you've got a
respawn.
group, then you'll have a pretty good chance of getting one. Otherwise, move on.
Yeah, so if you get it, then it's fine, and if you don't, then just don't reset the world state, just keep going. Good advice.
Yeah.
So
where did we leave off last time?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
so
maybe we make a short recap. I can like. So
yeah,
what we discussed last time was we had, I think, 4 or 5 screenshots. We have the first route, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with the cellar and the dungeon at the end. Then we have the second one. It's the one in Act 2 in Serigar. I'm bad with those names. We do the twisting blade dungeon, and you do before you do the 11. I think that's like very nice for monster character difference, right?
Yes, exactly. Typically, we're level 9 or 10 after that first route, and you get a bunch of obols from the events. So
no changes on this route that you did. You still stick to this?
If you start level 1, yeah.
Yeah, and we, again, just for context, we might start level like 7 or something because we can claim the renown.
Yep.
Okay. Then we have Cat Bardu, and we start farming the Onyx Watchtower, and then we talked about the Onyx Watchtower farm strategy with the 2 and 2 split.
Yeah, so before going straight to Onyx Watchtower, you want to do your class specialization after that second route in Serigar?
So between 15, between these 2 screenshots, you do the class specialization. Yeah, I forgot that. We talked about that as well. I mean, obviously you can't do the Necro one, but you're going to do the Sorcerer one and the Rogue one for sure, right? Those are the 2 important ones.
Barb one.
Oh yeah,
Barb,
and if you have a Barb, you can do the Barb one as well.
Yeah, because the Barb one is just killing a bunch of stuff. So it's just good. It's just XP.
Okay.
Yeah, the only 2 that you hold off on are the Druid and the Necro. And the Druid's because it's going to take too long. for what benefit you're going to get at that moment, and Necro you can't do it for another 10 more levels. So
yeah, and then we are farming you guys are farming the Onyx Watchtower, and that's gonna go until like I think it was level. You guys say like 22 at least.
22 and a half roughly was that at the time.
Mhm.
If you are not trying to get the renown experience from the other dungeons, the other strongholds, I'm sorry, then you can take it all the way to 25.
Okay, so maybe until 25 even. And this is where we left off.
So there's been a couple changes with Onyx Watchtower. The routing of it, you can actually pull basically the entire stronghold into one spot.
Yep.
That would be the
with
middle
four
spot,
different
right?
people.
This is only softcore viable, by the way. This is super deadly.
Yeah, do not do this on hardcore, unless you have like a death evasion potion going or something like that. Someone could rip pretty easily. But yeah, you can pull the entire stronghold into one spot.
It's pretty insane. Yeah.
And doing that, you would do like a 4-player split, right? Like one guy goes like in all directions basically, and pull them in the middle. I only noticed that we were struggling a little bit with the north portion of it, like all the way like 12 o'clock, let's say, in the stronghold. Like some of those guys, I think it's like an archer pack up there or something. Like sometimes it doesn't come down. Is there like any trick to get this one, or do you kill it, or do you also try to pull it?
Kiting him is better. We found it takes too long to try to solo, like 1v1 the guy. And Jim just put up the
here's the new strategy for Onyx Watchtower.
The new strat, big strat.
Yeah, so when you're mounted, you don't pull aggro, right? So we have
I'll link all these down
a few guys getting on their mounts, or two guys, the blue and the red, and you can see the dotted line, and they run to those points, and then they start routing from those points through the stronghold. Orange also, I guess, does a little bit of, but
well, Orange should actually be walking because they should be the person who loads in.
Yes,
and they're going to probably hit that first pillar a little bit as they walk in. Pillars, if you break the pillar, it will both CC and significantly damage any mobs that are there. It's not going to do much to a boss, but it'll help you clear just the trash mobs. That first little circular box, you can just damage some stuff as you go through, climb up on top of the roof. Drag, it's usually an archer in the orange route. You can drag him, they're slow, but you can drag them if you just keep breaking line of sight and hitting them, they will continue to follow you. And the same thing goes with the red route. The red route needs to break the barricade when they get off their horse. There's going to be a bunch of trash mobs. You're going to kite them up, go to the pillar, hit the pillar, so the mobs that spawn from underneath it start following you. You don't need to break it, but you do need to get up to the top right there at the north to get the lookout to come down. He's always an archer, and he throws those smoke bombs that make it really difficult to fight him.
Oh, yeah.
Just drag him and everyone else down with you with the red route. And, the green and blue, everyone meets in the middle. The blue's collecting all the other mobs that are on the outside. The green's the one that's going to start breaking the cages immediately.
All right. Do you have like any specific classes? I felt like for example, the blue route would be way more suited for a rogue because he's a bit more agile, a bit more faster, and maybe the green one would be more like a necromancer, like a slow kind of class, right?
I'd say your more skilled players need to be probably on the orange and red routes. Those are going to be the harder ones to drag. The blue and green routes will be easier. The right side is about just easier.
I mean, obviously skill plays a role as well, but is that like a preferably like class choices for those?
Well, there's certain classes that are better at breaking cages than others. Like for example, Sork or Chain Lightning will break the cage immediately, as opposed to like Necro, Bone Spear. Only the spear hits the cages, and none of the splinters do when you shoot it directly at them. So it can be kind of annoying to break all the cages. So stuff like that, just to keep in mind.
Yeah, some nice little tricks here. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. There's like things that just get absorbed by like, I don't know, objects in the game. Like tornadoes for Druid are awful for stuff like this. I'm not sure if the cages absorb the nados or not. I stopped trying to hit like buildings with the Druid because walls in the game immediately just disappear a NATO, and the NATO does 0 damage, and there goes like half your spirit with one NATO. So,
Mhm.
yeah, there's definitely classes that are suited better to, I guess, the various routes.
And the Onyx Watchtower, because I'm getting this question in chat right now. A lot of people say Temple of Rot. Is this like, I guess you can do this Onyx Watchtower as a solo player as well. Obviously, it's not going to be that efficient. Or would you more recommend Temple of Rot for like a solo player in this scenario or on this level?
Well, you can go to Temple of Rot after.
I mean, it's a level 30 zone.
Yeah, it's too high for this. This is
Okay.
a level 20 zone. So
Yeah, we're getting here at 17.
Yeah,
So.
I would compare Rot to Kor Dragan.
But just as a solo player, would you do this Onyx Watchtower as well?
I would.
Sure, yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
So do you hear that, chat?
Yeah, we already do it on our solo routes.
Onyx Watchtower is for the level the best stronghold that you can do at that time. Until you get to that like 35, 30 like push. So once you're level 25, you can start going to that level 30 area, right?
So teams will go to Core and solo players to Rot.
Well, some solo players will go to Rot. Like, I don't like doing Rot with Necro personally because there's a suppressor. Yeah. He's a pain. There's not a lot of good spots to bounce your bone spear off of in the tight corridors. A lot of those walls end up actually absorbing the bone spear as opposed to allowing you to bounce it.
I would think Druid too, probably not great for Temple of Rot. Has anyone played solo Druid and tried it?
I'm not sure, but yeah, when it comes to Temple of Rot, all the mobs there are melee. So when you have like a Twisting Blades rogue and all the blades are just spinning around you and they're coming into you, you don't have to do anything about it. Like that's great. Temple of Rot is amazing for a rogue. But Kor Dragan, you have those vampires that like just jump away from you, and it just takes so much time to actually bring those down. So you end up losing a bunch of time through Kor Dragan for a rogue player.
Yeah, and I see someone that brought up trying Druid, and they said it was painful in chat. One of the main reasons I bring up Druid after Vi brought up Necro is there are a lot of kind of walls to jump over and jump through in Temple of Rot, and you sort of need a mobility skill to really navigate it well. Otherwise, you're going to have to do some up downs, and that's going to eat into your time. So Sork teleporting, Rogue, Shadow Step, and Bar being able to leap makes it a lot quicker and more efficient. Whereas Kor Dragan, you don't really have those areas that you have to,
flies
it down too much.
Flies are the worst.
Yeah, flies. The slow.
Flies are like the bane of my existence. I hate them so much.
Yeah, Sork. So we have probably one of the better Sork players, speedrunners that have tested this already. He said Temple of Rot like got him a PB, but he knew he could do better, like a run on Kor Dragan, and so he tested Kor Dragan again, and he's blasting. He's got a 222 capstone clear. He's like 30 seconds behind Kano, who has a 222 as well. Just same minute, just different seconds. So yeah.
All right, and right after the Onyx Watchtower, what's next? So you're leaving here. You said like 22 and a half, maybe even 25.
Yeah, if you're farming your renown because you want the skill points, right? You would leave there. You already have the waypoint at Menestead.
But when you mean leave, you finish the dungeon and you ring the bell.
You don't have to.
What would you recommend it?
If you want to get the renown point, yeah, ring the bell. If you want to save it for later, for farming purposes or something like that, because there's a lot of great items that drop there, especially for rogues. It's a great rogue item farming spot. You might want to leave it up and try to get the renown somewhere else. But if you are struggling to get the renown and you don't care about like that farming spot, yeah, ring the bell. If you are leaving that up, you need to go all the way to 23 at Onyx before you leave. If you are ringing the bell, you can leave at 22 and a half ish. It's more like 22.6, 22.6 and a half. Then you should hit 25 at the end of this next portion of the route.
Okay. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Well, we don't have visual aid for this one, but because this is like
actually.
Oh, you do. It's really spread out on the map, but I guess maybe zoomed out.
No.
Yeah.
I mean it's the speed running one.
Okay, cool.
The guy.
Yeah, we brought visual aid for everybody. I was just gonna look at the
visual aid helps so much, especially like to know what you're talking about. It's,
so this guide has not been updated in a long time, but it still has the route, and I'm gonna send it to you guys in chat. That way you can have the link. This is posted on speedrun.com. It is still in beta. I'm still updating things, but if you scroll down pretty far, it's the Stronghold push and Kor Dragan bookmark.
And
I wrote in big red letters, Menestat is faster. Let me pull it up on my stream as well.
Yeah, okay. But I see this is basically Kyovashad left, but now you go, but now you don't follow this one to the teeth.
How do I open just my image? Oh goodness.
You're talking about for the stream?
Yeah, for my stream. Yeah, I guess I just zoom in.
Get a print out and then just hold like a paper up.
Hold it up.
Yeah, print. All right, so hopefully my chat can kind of see at least. But if you press !guide, anyone in my chat can just look at this anytime. So Menestat is obviously the northern waypoint. Kyovashad's the southern waypoint. There is a little dark area, and I spoke about this a couple times on a couple different people's streams. This red line goes right by it. That is Camp Trenchfoot. That's a level 12 event always. So if you ever want to get the Nostrava Stronghold down early, you could do that on your routing. I mean, it's up to you. But if you're just trying to get to Nostrava, Menestat is faster than Kyovashad. You get to get on your horse faster.
Yeah.
Which means you get to sprint faster. And if you know how to time the sprint, you can have it last almost the entire time. You walk up to that gate, you touch the gate, and your sprint should be back again. Now, I know that right now there's kind of like a bug or something that prevents you from using your horse abilities. It thinks that you're in a town when you're not. So you might not be able to sprint when you get inside of Nostrava, but I mean, the horse is probably going to be faster unless you're a rogue or a sork at that point anyway. So just ride up and start the stronghold. It's a pretty straightforward stronghold. It's one loop. You break a bunch of effigies and then come back up and fight 3 succubi. One is a shadow, one is a fire, one is a lightning. I like to kill the shadow one first because she blinds you, and I hate blind.
The blind is terrible. It's also bad in Onyx Watchtower.
Yeah.
All the crowd control is terrible, man. It's fucking crazy in Diablo for the amount of crowd control that you have to suffer through sometimes. Yeah. I miss my barb sometimes when I play Necro for sure.
It's rough.
Yeah.
It's rough.
That's the other thing. If like people are looking at going rogue this season because they want to try to push 100, like you're saying, Rob, rogue has, I think, very, very few breaks of CC. Like Shadow Step is the one that comes to mind. There may be some others, but that's the like one you pretty much always get. And yeah, if you're stuck in CC and you're melee, so you're getting hit by everything,
Yeah, you need
you're gonna die.
It gets
Just
rough.
hold Shadow Step. All you got to do, hold Shadow Step. That's all you really can do.
It's not so bad. There's an aspect, if you guys are first time rogues, an aspect you throw on your boots, you can get 2 shadow steps. They have 3-second cooldowns. You're not going to need to use 2 in the matter of 3 seconds. You'll be fine.
If you find it. Or is it a aspect?
You have to find it.
Oh,
You do have to
okay.
find it, but it's pretty common. And by the time where it's going to matter, where you're getting into content where you're going to be constantly CC'd, one is you'll likely drop one, but keep an eye out on it. Ravagers, I think is the name, but it's a good one. And if
You
you're having
can- you
CC
can
issues
gamble
on
it.
Rogue, yeah,
You can gamble it if you get to tier 3 and you still haven't found it. Just
Yeah, there you go.
use the Obols. But yeah, super easy. You can actually drag a lot of these monsters in Ostrava if you don't have big damage for elites, and you can clear the trash as you walk. You can drag them, or if you're like a Sorc or Rogue and you want to group all of the trash with the elites, that way your abilities can do a ton of damage to all the monsters around each other. Then you can drag them all in a pretty big pile. I think you can fit them in 3 like medium-sized poles. So I think there's about 8 or 9 effigies that you destroy, and you can squeeze in all of those monster spawns into 3 medium poles without ever breaking any tethering. So
I think it's like 1 effigy in each building.
roughly, yeah. There is yes, that 1 effigy in each building, but they are marked. So
Yeah.
you'll just walk through, and whenever there's a mark, you'll just walk in.
And there's 5 buildings, so
There's more than 5. More than 5.
Okay, so you do these 2 strongholds, Nostrava and Kor
Karayisu.
Okay, and this is like on the way. You just clear one, you ride to the next one, clear it. Okay, what's after it?
I think so. A point that you made, Rob, is like these are something potentially you could drop to Worldtier 1.
Yeah, I think if anything, this would be the best spot as well.
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
Because you're
This
going to
is
get
what
the
I
same
noticed
items. You're doing this for renown. Your XP is going to be similar. Otherwise, keep it at 2 if you can. But if you're getting tested, it's a good point to reevaluate.
So I really like Karayisu, and I know some people don't like it as much, and it might be just because of how much damage and the exploding monsters, or maybe they aren't routing it super efficiently. But you always walk in from the top when you first walk in from Nostrava, right? And I don't know if you guys want to like pull up a map or something, and just let me know when you have it up.
I got it up.
Okay. So you're walking down from the Accursed Wastes, and you walk into that first big area where it's almost dead center in the entire Karayisu. That's where the first like demonic pillar is that you need to destroy. When you destroy that, obviously the big elites come out. You use your cooldowns. You take them out quickly. There's 2 ways to get to the lower one. One way you can go left, the other way you can go down and right. Down and right is better because there is a super chest on the way right before you break a door. So you can get another nice little drop for your team and get maybe some weapon upgrades potentially. Hit that. There's an elite there. You walk down into that big demonic pillar area. You destroy the demonic pillar, use your cooldowns again, kill the big boss elite that spawns, and then you run directly north. Instead of walking all the way around and through that small corridor, if you walk directly north, there's some trash on top of a little slide. You break that. You can walk north. If you are ranged, you can aggro the elite that is on top of the steps on your left there. That I think everyone will kind of get stuck up on, kind of slow down their routing. If you just aggro them, he should follow you all the way up to the next pillar. You can clear that, and then on top of the steps to the north of that, there's also another elite that you can kill behind a door, and there's another super chest that you can open right there. So it can provide you with a lot more gear than maybe some prior testing has kind of been done. I mean, from what I've seen with other people's clears, sometimes they're just trying to get through it as quickly as possible, and they're just running in and just trying to destroy everything. It's not necessarily being the most efficient way, the most efficient use of your time for this place. Now, that being said, Onyx Watchtower, grinding it out, is both better drops and better experience than running between all of these. But you're not going to get the same renown, and this is the most efficient way to actually complete this and open up Kar Yisu Waypoint, which can kind of open up a couple different routes for you to go from here. Because you want to go north to the Hidden Overlook, and you want to go west to Girondai. So both of those can be super helpful, as you're going into Tier 3, and also as you're approaching Tier 4.
So are you splitting here? Let's say, okay, you have the Kor Jitsu done. Like, obviously, Necromancer has the Golem slums on the north, on Hidden Overlook. And is this a time where you split? Or, like, who's going into the slums? Or are you going to the slums?
So you should go to the slums. If you have a Necro, you got to go to the slums. I don't see any situation ever where the Necro is going to forego getting Splintering. Splintering is obviously their strongest aspect. Even if you have a roll already on a weapon, if it's a really good roll, and you're really early, I would put that weapon in your stash if you're not going to use it immediately. Maybe rip the aspect and don't imprint it until you find your first sacred. I would, if you get another weapon upgrade before you find your first sacred, you want to imprint. Do not waste a good splintering aspect on just a regular weapon.
Yeah, I actually had that situation. I imprinted the codex on the amulet, and then I got a sacred item with the splinter, and I waited until I had an ancestral. I think that was even the best, because I mean,
that's
when
a
you're
good
already
situation.
When you're already in T3, like, I mean, T4 isn't even far. Like that segment is like is not long, and you're feeling pretty comfortable. I don't know if you guys are. We can go about it later if you're doing Kor Dragan as well in T3 early on, but I felt that was like pretty easy, and then we just had the ancestrals and splinters. T4.
Yeah. So you can definitely continue doing Kor Dragan in Tier 3. I think right, like, so the reason why we're doing these strongholds as well is for the renown, for the extra skill points.
Yes.
If you didn't complete Onyx Watchtower, then maybe you can skip Karisu, because I don't think you'll have the renown points to even get the skill point at that point. Since a lot of people don't like Karisu, and so you've saved Onyx for potentially farming for gear later, because Kor Dragan is pretty terrible for that.
I mean, personally, I would rather clear Temple of Rot than Onyx Watchtower. And I mean, I would rather clear both Kar Yisu and Temple of Rot fully, get them out, get them off the board for the renown, and leave Onyx Watchtower up, personally.
Drops suck in Temple of Rot. I'll just say it. You're not going to get anything. I did a run, and I maybe got a rare every 3 full clears. Something. It was terrible. Nothing dropped, and I was focusing on them.
You have one resplendent chest, and that is basically where you get your drops.
Yep.
That is it.
It was brutal.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It seems like they've I don't know if they did it on purpose or not, but the XP on the good strongholds is bad drops.
I mean, in Kor Dragan specifically, they nerfed it right after like the early access or whatever it was. They didn't.
I mean, you're getting a legendary like every other run, just clicking corpses.
They do have drops.
The open beta,
they do have drops, but you have to, complete their little mini game in order to get to the drops. So,
Okay, so you
trade-offs.
finished both of those strongholds. You get the Golram slums. Is this necro only, or how do you split it? Like,
I think it's necro only.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are the other members doing while he's doing that?
You can.
You can all do the dungeon, sure, but
yeah, you should all do the goal range slums together. But the routing up to getting to the hidden overlook waypoint, that's a necro priority.
Mhm.
If you don't have a necro, you don't necessarily need to go get it. But there is the aspect of might in that area as well, which could be useful.
You mean rapid?
Yeah, rapid. That's sorry.
Oh yeah, rapid is right below.
Rapid's right below it. Yeah. And then Girandai is a waypoint to the west of Karayisu.
Mhm.
That waypoint is super good. It gets you to Temple of Rot really fast. If you want to do that, you can run up to the PvP zone super fast if you want to do that. And I believe, Champion's Demise is on the way to Girandai, so you can get the Girandai waypoint. And if you want to farm out Champ's Demise or get Umbral Aspect, which is super good for a lot of classes, then you can hit that up too. Right now, right at you're roughly 25. If you want an aspect before farming out Kor Dragan, now's the time to do it.
All right, sounds good. And then big Kor Dragan Grind. Do you have a strategy overview for that one as well? Because I've seen a lot of people do actually a lot of different stuff in group. Like some people completely left the right side. Some people only did the middle. Like what do you guys think? What's your experience in Kor Dragan specifically?
It has changed so many times. It has changed so many times.
Let us know the conclusion for now. I mean, this can change again, but like, what do you think is the best strategy to farm Kor Dragan for now?
It depends on who you have in your group.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So let's say the standard group that you said, like the three, let's start core pillars. Like there's a Sorc, there's a Rogue, and then there's a Necro. Like those three.
Okay. I think Rogue, Necro. Mm-hmm. I say big pull in the dead center.
That's it.
Yep.
I'd take the Sorc off to the right side on that.
Sorc jumps up on the platform on the right. She clears he or she clears the. We're coming from D2. Sorc's always a girl, right?
Yeah. I feel that. Bob's a male, Sauce a female. Let's go.
Right. So, the Sorc jumps up on top of the platform. They can either, break the blood blister and whatever, but ideally they kill all the mobs up there and the elite, and then come back down to rejoin everybody. Necro, Rogue, and whoever your fourth man is running dead center, grabbing all the packs that you can, the two wings and the cathedral, pulling them all together in one big spot.
Mm-hmm.
Necro corpse tendrils.
Boom.
Rogue blows them up with one shadow imbue. Plus, synergized with the Sorc's fireball enchantment. So everything just kind of explodes as soon as it's in that little tight ball.
You might have to turn your graphics down for.
It's super satisfying though. It's super satisfying.
Yeah.
Once we got the hang of it, I mean, probably not to the degree as you, but like it was already like fucking insane. It was so good. Like it just feels so good as well when it like explodes and like you pull everything, boom. It's like so satisfying. Yeah, you feel like you were really efficient with your time. That's great. I love it. And then in this scenario, you would leave the left side, like you just don't do it.
So with this scenario, you have two options. You can either immediately leave to try to reset it like super fast, or what you can do is all three of those guys that were in the dead center, they run left down, clear all the elites down there. Sometimes it can be difficult to get the blister on the top left area of the lower area to actually spawn the big elite, but you can spawn him by getting everyone down there. You want to group everyone together and do exactly the same thing. You want the whole bottom area grouped and exploded. During that time, the Sorc is going to be on the right, and they are going to finish killing all the blood blisters there themselves, and then they're also going to spawn the elite, and they should be able to solo it with their the deep freeze They are going to deep freeze it, get everything frozen, and then just pop it. Basically, the same way.
I had one, I guess, caveat to that is that we're doing this on speed runs where Sork is able to get control, piercing, and prodigy. I don't think Sork's gonna be able to do the solo on that side that well.
That's fair.
And so I think the Sork can solo the one elite with like an ultimate up on this like hill that
Platform, yeah.
yeah, the platform up there.
Mhm.
She can do that one and then come back to the group. Also, when you're split that far apart in Kor Dragan, you actually don't get the party bonus percent XP.
Oh, that's
So,
true. That's
yeah.
something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, so
Um,
Sork can just kill that one boss up there and then come right back and join the group in the middle for big explosions.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that too. I like that too.
And then yeah, if you want to route the bottom side, you can also do that, which personally I think is going to be better than resetting quickly. Typically, you want to minimize your load times, and how much you're doing that. So if you can just get more or squeeze out more XP, I think that's better.
Yeah,
Unless
like
you
that
all
too.
have God computers.
Yeah, but I like the attitude, man. It's just about kills per hour. Whatever gets you the most. And if you're like, obviously, if the run instead of 90 seconds is 80 seconds, but you kill a lot less monsters, then it's not going to be worth it. I also am a fan of like a little longer runs, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you can get everything grouped together really well in the bottom area, it's definitely more efficient.
Mhm.
If you are just running around like slowly killing like small packs of those mobs at once, like one at a time, you're kind of wasting your time. So I think Jim's right, especially if the Sork teleports back down, gets on her horse, and then rides all the way and can destroy that blister at the top that a lot of other classes have difficulties with really quickly. Then that would, I think, be really super beneficial.
Yeah, so we're talking about killing the 3 blisters to get an extra elite spawn if people don't understand what's going on.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Because in Kor Dragan, there's the blisters, and each side has 3 to kill, and then you have the main one.
Mhm. So for the lower area, if you come down to the lower area, near the entrance, there's one. If you walk into the entrance and turn left, there's a blister in the mid platform. Then there is a small blister, also right in front of the little cabin to the northwest part of the low area. And then the last blister is after you're climbing up on top of the bottom platform that like ramparts that look outside of Kor Dragan, you climb up that and you do a little jump, and then you are in the western ramparts, and then there's the last blister there. Storks have the ability, one, to teleport up there and destroy it without having to do all the little like, oh, I'm going to climb up on top of the ramparts type of deal. So super quick that way. Or there's also a positioning spot that they can be, and they can just ice
Shoot up
shards
there.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just shoot it directly from the bottom.
So the problem, is you're gonna have to study that positioning if you want to do that. That's a very min max.
Yeah, I think for most people, it's probably not worth
It's
doing
just
those
tough.
blisters, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's one
for
elite,
sure.
right? Like, this is like a very complicated. And I mean, if you really want to
Yeah.
max, you can do it. But most
Way
of the
too
time, just
complicated.
kill the trash, man. Kill the trash. Kill as
Yeah.
many elites, and then you go on your way. Go next game.
That's how you get
Good
the
summary.
That's how you get the drops. That's how you get the drops, though. So
Yeah,
if you
true. I
wanna
mean, the
take the
elites
time to
have a
learn
higher
it,
chance to drop like items, right? So yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
that elite. So the big
Oh, that
elites that
elite.
spawn. Yeah, the big elites that spawn from the big blood blisters after you destroy the smaller ones. You destroy that last big one. That elite that spawns there can drop stuff more often than just the generic elites. And
Okay.
Yeah, I think I had 2 rares drop off of them.
yeah,
So
Okay,
so
that's
if you're
pretty nuts at this
struggling,
point. That's like half
it
the
could- it
items
could
of
be-
the run.
yeah,
it'd be
seriously.
worth just weigh what your group is comfortable with. If you another way to do it, I mean, you can also try to get the one in the cathedral as well, but I think if you're trying to just do this really fast and you're not comfortable with trying to do some blister mechanics,
Mhm.
then what Jim was saying, I think is very accurate. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Awesome. So you're farming this quite a lot. Which level
Oh yeah.
do you typically finish Kor Dragan?
We want to finish at 35, so it's 25 to 35. It's a massive part of your run, 10 levels, and as you level up more and more, the longer it takes to level. So, Kor Dragan is almost half of the run at that point. Then after that, we move on into the Cathedral Light. One thing that we want to do prior to going in is make sure we upgrade our potion because you went from 25 to 35. So you have the level 30 potion you can get. You have items because your items are like pretty tough to get from Kor Dragan. You may want to do a shopping spree real quick, depending on how much gold you have for one, and I guess you're going to be salvaging most of your gear to get Veiled Crystal to apply aspects, but yeah, it's a pretty delicate balance. I feel like figuring out exactly what you want to do there, and then if anything, you upgrade your weapon for just extra damage going into the Cathedral Light. You may not have very many material or gold to be able to do that. So weapon damage is the most important thing. Going into the Cathedral Light, well, on the season start, like I was saying earlier, you may want to push to like 37 instead of 35. But anyway, we get the Elixir of Undead Slain before going in there. So when you get our level 30 potion, we also pick up that craft if we have the materials. If you don't have the materials, which probably we won't, it'll be a little bit tougher at the boss fight, but it just means it takes a little bit longer. It's not necessarily any harder. It's not making you survive anymore.
So Chad is just asking this. So like, okay, Kor Dragan doesn't really drop many items. So you went from like 25 to 35. So you have like 10 levels. Maybe you got like 1 or 2 upgrades in there. But in general, could it be beneficial to just farm like Onyx again or some other stronghold to get some gear? Because I know a lot of people have been doing that as well. Because
I think
else you're gonna struggle. I think because okay, maybe if you're like really good synergy in your team, but I think for most people, like okay, you finish it at 35, and then maybe you do like 1 level of like I don't know, like Onyx Watchtower again, or what would you think it's best if you don't have the gold or the mats to buy that gear?
Yeah, remember, what you guys are thinking in terms of the speed run where you have all of your aspects in every gear. On launch, you may have enough materials to have one aspect in your gear at that point, and you haven't upgraded since level 25. So the season 1 is going to look a lot different than that kind of strategy you just talked about, where you go right in at level 35. It's
my original routing for this was back when I didn't have any materials, and I had us all go to Malnock, and everyone was like, "Why are we going there?" I was like, "There's 5 super chests. You're gonna get 5 yellow items at least." It's kind of a pain. There's a lot of CC. Malnock's not the highest experience per minute dungeon, but
Stronghold.
Or Stronghold. But you're gonna have a lot of yellow items drop.
Yeah, I posted a screenshot in our group channel. I think this is what you're talking about, right? Like there's the marked chests in yellow here in Marnock. This could be a possible farm, right?
So yes, exactly. So 1, 2 is a yellow chest, perfect. Yep, and then there's 3, 4. Yep. And then 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. Yep. So there is another chest in the little there's one more chest that you're missing.
Okay, maybe we missed one here.
So in the 1-2 area, the little room that is underneath it, you see the little room on the left-hand side. If you go in there, there's one more chest for you.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, there's little ice shards blocking the door.
But in general, then comes the question like Malnock versus just Onyx Watchtower again, because Onyx also gives you decent XP, right? And you could just like, if you're 35 and you want to be like 37 anyways, maybe it's better to farm Onyx or Malnock. Or do you guys feel like, is it the same, or what would you prefer?
Here's what I would do. If you have rogues or a rogue on your team, Onyx Watchtower will be better because it drops more specifically daggers and rogue like items.
And you
But,
already have
like
established
crossbows.
strategy there. Like you already know how it works. Like your group's probably experienced from doing it earlier stages.
Yeah, exactly. I think Malnock would be better for like Necro, Sork, these classes because
Druid,
it doesn't
specifically Druid.
Druid, yeah, specifically. Because it doesn't have like a bunch of daggers that are taking up a lot of your drops. Because Druids can't use daggers. So Sorks can, I guess, but you kind of want staves, which I think
Actually, you're killing the goatmen, and goatmen are going to drop the Druid totems, so it's going to be good for Druid.
yeah, and staves. So
All right. So for season start, it's probably more realistic to, after you're done with Kor Dragan, just do Malnock or do the Onyx Watchtower again for a couple levels, then shop, upgrade your stuff, upgrade your potion, craft the, what was it? Undead Slaying, right? Elixir?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
there's
if we have the
probably
material.
there's probably a couple aspects that you're going to want to grab right before you go into the cathedral. Those aspects, most likely, because you had to hold off on them and you didn't get them earlier, they're probably in Hawazar and they're probably in Kyrgyzstan. And Hawazar and Kyrgyzstan are where you need to find those mats. So path your way to the dungeons that you need the aspects for. On the way, keep an eye out for the mats. If you find those mats, call it out. Tell everyone this is where you stop. Like stop mid-run and get the mats. Like don't care about Galavine. You'll find Galavine on your route. You might be a little short on Galavine, but you get the cheer quest. You have like other things that you can get Galavine for. You can refine for Galavine, but the mats to get the Undead Slaying Potion are in Kyrgyzstan and Hawazar. So while you're running there, keep an eye out. Make sure you call it out for everyone.
Yeah, so we'll probably be stopping Kor Dragan farming around 34 to do that, to go pick up the extra aspects we need at Hawazar, Kyrgyzstan. And you also will you'll get pretty good items actually out of the dungeons, just because they're way higher level. Like Kyrgyzstan is level 45, so it's going to be almost like 10 or 11 levels higher than you if you finish Kor Dragan farming. And it's difficult, but it's not as difficult as the Cathedral of Light. And the items out of there can be maybe a little too high level, but typically around your level, and will be a massive, massive power spike. So
in tier 2, not like tier 1, tier 2, like tier 2, all of the areas that have a minimum level can drop items that are usable 10 levels below that. That is the lowest that it can drop. So if you're going into a level 45 area, you're probably going to get a bunch of items that you can't use yet. Some of them may be usable at 35, 36. Some of them might not be usable until 40. But for the most part, you might get a really, really good upgrade on the way that you can work into pretty quickly going into.
Just to clarify, like you said, this is only happening on T2?
Yeah, so tier 3, you're
now,
everything's
would it be working in T1 is my question, because like after Kor Dragan, like you said, most people.
Technically, I haven't tested it in tier 1.
Yeah, I think it should work.
I wouldn't be able to speak to it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to speak to it.
I never heard of
tier 2
of it not working in T1, so I think that might be, at least for a more casual audience out there, like after doing the Kor Dragan farm, maybe that's also where you want to bump it to T1 really quick for the Kyrgyzstan, for these harder dungeons. Would that be? I think that would be something where it would make sense, like maybe the second part or the second time.
It could definitely speed up these.
Has anybody done the like testing between T1 and T2 to see if the item drops are just like significantly better in World Tier 2, or if they're the exact same, or what? Like,
I haven't noticed a big difference.
Yeah, personally. Me neither. Like I was playing lots on T1 and T2, and it just feels the same. So I think there could definitely be a good strategy to put it down to T1. If you're doing like a 45 area, like you guys said, you're like 35, like your character level is 35, and in Kyrgyzstan, some of the aspects that you do, if you do the Veins one for Necro, I think there's a couple others as well that might be like in the 40s. So T1 right before you go into Cathedral of Light could be efficient.
Yeah, I mean it'd be cool to see if they do some changes between the world tiers, because we could. Then it would be like well, now we're shaking things up again, and you're thinking, oh, it's just going to be better to get things on World Tier 1. What if World Tier 2, there's some kind of like, oh, now they're doing a 50% XP buff for World Tier 2 to make it a better transition to World Tier 3 or something crazy. It's like, well, now you have to do World Tier 2, like, even though you practice on World Tier 1. Now, I mean, they haven't touched World Tiers, I don't think, so.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, they could shake things up quite drastically, I think, for the season.
Yeah, they could, but I don't think it's realistic. They have like so much other stuff and so many other issues, I think, to do. Like there's a lot of stuff, and I think we're gonna keep the world tiers like they are. And
I like the idea, Jim.
The idea is cool. One more thing I think is really important. Maybe we just didn't talk about yet is to grab the disobedience aspect, right? Are you guys also doing that before the Cathedral of Light disobedience dungeon could also be added? Like, and where would you add it in the rotation?
That you can do pretty early. That's a
you can do it early.
dungeon.
I know, but we haven't talked about it earlier. So would you add this early, or would you do it right now after Kor Dragan?
So we mentioned, or we've only discussed this, I think, like once or twice about picking it up around the same time you pick up the Gulren Slums and the Rabbit. So the Splintering and the Rapid, aspects.
Yeah,
so picking up like
it's funny that you said that because we have it exactly in there, like from what we tested. Like the Necro just finishes that dungeon with the Rogue, and the other two wait in the Disobedience dungeon, and then the Necro and the Rogue finish the Gulrams and then join them. I think that could be very nice because like you definitely want the Disobedience. It's just so strong it feels in T3, and that's like universal for everybody. Like get that Disobedience before you attempt the Cathedral of Light. It's gonna make it like so much easier.
There's also the Protector, which is down by the Sorks specialization. So, but that one's kind of out of the way if you don't have a Sork on your team. And I don't know. I haven't tested or even like kind of considered whether you don't have a Sork on your team, whether it's worth going down there. But that barrier is, well, it's 465 when you get an item power 400. I can't remember what it is, but sub that it's like 360 or something. But anyway, like that barrier is like half or more than half of your life at that point. So, and it's a barrier that lasts 10 seconds and on a 30-second cooldown. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah. You can do that dungeon several different places. You can do it immediately at level 15. You can do it immediately after doing Nostrava, or you can do it, immediately before going into the Cathedral of Light. So,
yeah, I think the play would be to pick up the waypoint down there while someone's routing to Karayisu from Nostrava. That would probably be the routing you'd want to take.
Well, if you already have that, you're level 15. Then you no longer have to go to Menestad. Like if you're level 15, have a Sork, you no longer have to go to Menestad. You can go straight from Novesk up to Nostrava. So
yeah, I mean, lots of more theory crafting and checking to do. But okay, we have this checklist for the T3 dungeon. Do all that stuff, upgrade your gear, get the elixir hopefully, and then you maybe at about 38 would be, I think, a good recommendation for most people to go into the dungeon. And I think it's good if you also know the fight, at least the boss fight a little bit. Like if you want to prepare for the season, guys, maybe just do the Cathedral of Lights a couple times with like a not so strong character just to see.
So even on speed runs, so we're doing this at 36. We're doing the Cathedral Light in like 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the class. There are like I've watched a couple of like newer speedrunners and even duos take over an hour to get through the Cathedral Lights. Yeah. It's there's a very big like time difference if you haven't done it. So I recommend everybody at least give it a shot at a low level and see how ridiculous it is.
Things to keep in mind is CC is super important, especially for even before Curator or the mid 4-man boss. CC can really, really speed up and help killing the Animus carriers. They're Revenants that are all lightning enchanted and have teleport. So they're going to be doing a ton of damage to you. pretty much every mob, if it gets to get like a full combo off on you, it's gonna kill you at level 36. If you don't have like your protector and disobedience. So being able to CC them, either freeze, stun, whatever, and be able to unload and just take out the elite as quickly as possible. Recoup. If you need to TP back to town to get more potions, do not be afraid to do that, because it's very easy to run out of potions in that area. Especially if you're spamming them while you're just getting destroyed by lightning enchanted stuff. A weak lightning elixir, if you found one on your way there, I would hold on to it. I know elixirs are really great for experience, but lightning elixir specifically, you should hold on to it for just those animus carriers, especially if you're not super familiar with the run. And then that, I guess a Iron Barb potion could also help. But I think the weak lightning resistance elixir, I know resistances are terrible. They're not as bad in tier 2. Especially when you are low level and don't have a whole lot of resistances built up yet. If you're low on lightning res, that elixir can make a big difference. Right?
Yeah, and I mean, I think for most people, like if I hear like people take an hour through the dungeon, I think it's just way more beneficial if you just grind for another 20 minutes wherever, and then just like blast it. Like, and maybe even like go up to level 40, guys. If you haven't done it before or something, like I think just like get some more levels. It's gonna make it more efficient. Like this is a kind of marathon, not a sprint. That we're not. I mean, most people are not racing to just get the T3 time.
Yeah, you can't even use your sacreds until you're 45 anyway. So if you're going to T3, you're not even going to be able to use the gear if you're that low. Mm-hmm. It's going to take you some time.
But I think what's really interesting, and especially if you do it then early on, like how does your transition look? Okay, you finished at Cathedral of Light. Maybe it was pretty tough. You're only like 36, or maybe you're 38 already. What do you do? Like first thing, you go town, change to T3. Now what?
Yeah, so you definitely can go straight into tier 3, even though the mobs are going to be even higher level than the Capstone. They're going to be level 52 or 53. And we've gone straight into just Kor Dragan farming again. You have to take it a little bit slower, but mobs are worth 100% XP instead of 20% if you're going from Worldtier 2 to 3. And you level up so incredibly fast. It's actually amazing. And I think the biggest thing is to pick up, or once you get around to 42-ish, you want to start hitting up maybe the PvP zone or some high density area like that. Or maybe there's some aspects you missed, to go pick those up and get items like sacred weapons will immediately be probably plus 300 DPS on top of like your weapon. So you're going to go from a weapon that's got 500 to 600, two-handers, excuse me, to about 800, 900 just immediately.
Just for some context, so those monsters I think are level 53, right, in T3. And Sacred, so you're going to be like around 40, like early 40s when you arrive there, or maybe like end of your 30s. And you need level 45 to wear your sacred item, guys. And
correct.
What is so good in Kor Dragan, it's not 53, it's always character level plus 2, because you don't really get, the monsters are so hard if you have like minus 15 level difference, like you are like level 39 and the monsters are like 53 in the outer world. Like that's not even the most efficient way to farm XP. So you just go to Kor Dragan, it's going to be a little easier at least than the outer world, because those monsters are just character level plus 2. But what you get is the 100% XP bonus from being in T3, and that's why it's so efficient to go T3 early, I feel. But usually, I don't think Kor Dragan can drop sacreds at that point, right? Because even though you're in T3, those monsters are too low level. Have you ever gotten a sacred item? I'm not sure if it's possible. You did? Okay, maybe I just was unlucky.
I'll post something for you right there, dude. That thing is insane. Okay, so...
Holy shit, 45, yeah.
Yeah, so I went to go upgrade it to like show that it's a 700 plus item power weapon, right? Mm-hmm. So first of all, it's level 45 and it's like the higher end of item power. And once it hits 725, it hits another breakpoint. And so you can see the vulnerable damage gets plus 33.2%.
Yeah.
And like
basically an ancestral.
yeah, it's basically an ancestral at that point. So you could have a level 45 weapon that just takes you all the way to 100. I mean, almost.
Well,
It's
Yeah, that's
only got
nuts.
3 mods, but it's nutty.
But
Yeah.
for context, this one dropped, or like you found sacreds like this, or like sacreds in general in Kor Dragan?
Yeah, no, I found that while farming on my necro. That's a crossbow compared to a
I think he's
necro.
asking where you found it, Jim.
I think I found this one in the PvP zone actually. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because
I don't
that's the
think
main
we're
question is
finding
we
in
didn't get any
Kor Dragan.
sacred items when we were in T3 and like obviously with like low 40s, and the monster level was like 43, and they didn't drop any sacred items for us. Maybe we were just that unlucky. But I felt like, I mean, obviously,
I haven't ever seen them when I've tried to farm like strongholds after getting into tier 3 at low
Yeah, I
level.
don't think strongholds are the play. The strongholds mobs don't actually jump to level 50 plus.
Exactly.
Stronghold mobs stay 2 levels above your level, even in World Tier 3.
Very important. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why you're not seeing sacred items. If you jump over to the PvP zone or just high density area, you will be fighting mobs that can actually drop sacreds. Yeah.
Something else to keep in mind, the unique boss monsters, they also do not jump up. They stay at your level. So if you go and try to fight, I don't know, the guy that drops the dark saber, is it there Lorath or something? No, not Lorath. Loris something. I don't know his name. The guy that the dark sword that helps the rogue, or the broodmother that drops the poison dagger, or Alman that drops the two-handed sword. Those are all going to be your level. So you can't just go to tier 3 and get a sacred version of that when you're like level 36.
Yeah. Okay, so you do this Kor Dragan like until around level 44 then, and then go, like that's what we did at least. I want to hear your opinion. So we did Kor Dragan until 44, and then obviously at 45 you unlock your sacred weapons. You're not going to get any in Kor Dragan, so when the second you hit 45, you want to equip your sacred weapon, so you already need to have it. So that's why we went at like 44 and a half or something. We went out of there, and then we also chose the PvP zone, especially if you're one of the first teams, I feel. You have a good chance there that there's no other players basically, because you've been speedrunning, like you're there in like 4 or 5 hours or something, and then you can just farm some crazy density there.
Whisper trees.
PvP zones are great because they have really nice density, and since it's overworld, they don't scale with your player party. So they will basically be P1 mobs that you'll be able to kill as a group. P4 as a solo player, it may not be as good of a farming spot, but still something to consider. It's really good for groups.
Yeah, maybe also something to avoid in hardcore though. But yeah, apart from that, go ahead.
Or specifically go to, because other people are avoiding it.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, there could be some 4-hit strats for sure. Nobody's going there? Okay, I'm going to go there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, strong.
I did it,
go there.
Well, the thing about the PvP zone is the more and more
Bring
people
a barb.
get there, the less valuable the PvP zone becomes.
Right.
Like, so.
Okay, so we're going to say it on the podcast here. Don't go there, guys. We want to farm.
Right.
No, you can go there. We'll already be an hour ahead, and we'll be long gone.
Jim will bonk you.
Yeah, it's all fun and games now, but when you see us in the PvP zone,
yep. Good stuff.
Don't be stealing my monsters.
Okay, so when do you like make that transition? Also about 44, is that like a good level, you think?
I think,
a little earlier.
Yeah, probably a little earlier, because you want to have like a few chances at the weapon before you actually hit the level.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you have it,
by bad drops. Right.
Yeah. For V-Truth, we have to get there at level 38 immediately. Just go straight in the PvP. No, yeah. So yeah, it'll be a little bit of a struggle because you're gonna be going from like 2 levels ahead of you in the Stronghold, right, to a level 53 area in the PvP zone, and once again, it's going to be similar to the Cathedral Light. Mobs are just way higher level, so they're way stronger. But it's not. It won't feel as bad as I feel like as the Cathedral Light because of the. I don't know. I'm not sure what it is about the Cathedral Light. I think the mob types in there are just extra strong.
Yeah, and Cathedral of
Nice.
Light also scales to
It's
4-man,
nice.
right? And the PvP zone doesn't. So
Yeah.
that's what I
Yes.
felt. I felt like my damage was good in the PvP zone when I went there at like 43. But like, if there's an elite pack, man, they can one-shot you because you're already used to the 4-player HP of Kor Dragan. So P1, like you said, Lucky, PvP zone is going to be easy, even as 4-player. But the damage is still the same. So those elites, man, at 53, they're going to wreck you. The DPS is fine, just like you get some toughness, I guess, to get there.
It's just CC them down,
Yeah, what she
Get
say?
your
Just don't
your
get
death
hit
traps,
for it.
get your just don't get hit.
Oh,
Easy.
man.
Easy clap.
But, yeah.
So, and I think you can pretty much do that same thing repeated for World Tier 4.
Okay, well,
about.
like we're not there yet. Like then, okay, you
Nightmare
know the
Dungeons,
zone,
then
you
after
have your sacred
Oh,
weapon.
yeah, Nightmare Dungeon, sorry.
Yeah, and then you have your
So-
sacred weapon, and then do you start Nightmare Dungeons? And if yes, or do you do like the whispers to get the keys, or what do you
Get
do?
the whispers. The buffed whispers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
but you don't want
whispers.
to open the whispers. Like, if you get a couple, you don't want to open them until you're level, I think, is it
You can open them.
48?
Generally, a
50?
lot of the PvP stuff is part of the whispers. So just by
Yeah.
farming in the PvP zone, you'll likely be filled, if not already all filled up on whispers. Depending on what is rotating at launch, it may just be some of the dungeons that we're already clearing. You'll be able to get, whispers that way. But yeah, so it's you're going to want to do that to get your first sigils and then start running Nightmare Dungeons once you have your sacreds equipped. Everyone, you'll want to have weapons at least and some good armor before going in, because all of your Nightmare Dungeons are going to be scaling, so you're going to be back at player 4 scaling. It's going to be the highest mobs that you've been encountering up to this point, but with sacred items, you should fare okay.
So if you do the whispers, I think you get a 21 key, right? Like if you open it, you open the back and you get a key out of it. It's pretty much guaranteed, I think. And you're gonna have 4 keys, all 4 of the party members, I guess.
You'll have 4 keys.
Sorry, a level
The
1
thing
key.
is, very very often you can get another key if you're in the low 50s. I think maybe as low as 49 when you go in. If you're lower than 49 on the first Nightmare Dungeon that you go in, you're probably not going to get another Nightmare Dungeon sigil drop. So you may want to consider like pushing back your first Nightmare Dungeon until one, you're comfortable going into the Nightmare Dungeon, and 2, so that you're high enough level that you think that you'll start getting the sigil drops. That way you can actually get the glyph experience, and yeah, because you're 50, you want the glyph experience, you want the glyph drops, and then you also want the sigil drops while you're in the Nightmare Dungeon.
Yeah, for sure. This is where I think groups really will shine over solo, is the Nightmare Dungeons, because, well, first of all, we don't know what the rotations of the Nightmare Dungeons are going to be, if they're going to rotate them at all. We're going to see, I guess.
I think they confirmed it.
They confirmed it?
Twitter,
okay.
Yeah. It's going to be different Nightmare Dungeons at the season start, at least. That's what they said. And we have this pool of, like, what is it, like 120 dungeons in the game, and 30 of them currently are Nightmare Dungeons. So we're going to have a whole new set, most likely, of 30 new Nightmare Dungeons that we don't know about yet. Yeah, every season, and we don't know about. So maybe we get, like, some crazy stuff, like Uldur's Cave, or, like, some of the insane dungeons that people have been farming anyways.
Yeah, we're ready to hear.
It's going to be a lot of testing, because people have not really been min-maxing those. Like, we'll see what we're going to get.
Yeah, we haven't really been min-maxing or even know like all the best just dungeons for farming XP
McCall
wise.
has a spreadsheet.
We do have we do have like an idea from, I guess, one class perspective. The thing is comparing multiple classes, because Barbarian and Druid have like permanent unstoppable going through these dungeons, and so they're going to be a lot better going through certain areas versus like a Necro, or Rogue, or a Sork, who do not have permanent unstoppable.
Well, I think he took note of how many elite packs he was encountering too, so I think that could be helpful information.
That's some insane data. And obviously, like, we might get like a new Champion's Demise. Like, you guys remember, like, when I first like blasted the 100 there, and we started farming Champion's Demise, and it was just so good. Like, there was like so many elites before they nerfed it. And who knows what the next dungeon like that might look like. Maybe there is some dungeon, and that's gonna maybe become a Nightmare Dungeon with like 3 pedestals or something, and like a very efficient split. And like you said it earlier, like then we're gonna, like, groups are really gonna like fly ahead if those dungeons exist.
Yeah, it's tough to guarantee Nightmare Dungeon what you're going to be actually running, it's tough. But it's going to be sort of trying to weigh the scales between is it better to just go with the consistent dungeon that you can spam over and over, or try to get the extra bonus from the Nightmare dungeon, get your glyphs leveled while you're also getting decent XP. It'll be interesting to see. Just not being able to guarantee which dungeon you're running with Nightmare dungeons could cause a lot of variability between teams, and you'll see how the different teams handle that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Like I was saying, it's going to outshine solo classes being able to pick and choose like the better affixes, the better dungeons, and you're going to be
four to choose from every time.
Four to choose from every time. Yeah, and if two people have a good one, well, guess what? You get to line up the next one you're going to do right after you've finished. Whereas the solo person has to like go through and figure out, okay, which ones did I get out of this dungeon to help me for the what I'm going to do next. And so there's going to be a lot of, I guess, just time loss in figuring out what you want to do as a solo player. And also only having 2 days to figure out which are the best dungeons for you to do.
I mean,
is going to be hard to memorize.
Maybe we don't even have 2 days, because the way I understand it, the patch is going to hit, and when the season comes, the rotation changes. So maybe we're just going to wing it. Like
we're just going to roll in. Yeah,
we're just going to roll it. Like, oh, you get some Nightmare Dungeon key. Like, who knows what it's going to be?
Yeah, just memorize all 120 dungeons. This one's crap.
But I think this makes the race like so much more interesting if you can't like prepare everything. Like there's still this like question marks, like a little bit of mystery. Like maybe this works, maybe that works with the hearts as well, and then now with the Nightmare dungeons. I think that's awesome. Like just something crazy, some mystery, like makes the race a lot more interesting, of course.
For sure.
But yeah, there's something interesting that you guys said. Like, so maybe it's not worth it starting the Nightmare dungeons before you hit 50, right? Because then you don't really get the glyphs and you don't benefit from the upgrades. So what would be in the gap? Like you just farm the PvP zone for like these 5, 6, 7 levels from like 43 to 50, or you?
Well, there's still Helltide.
There's Helltide. Oh yeah, that's a big topic actually.
Yeah,
it's definitely time to hit that actually, because Forgotten Souls is. I mean, that's the only place you can get them, and rerolling or enchanting gear that's like that powerful, like that crossbow showed. Enchanting a something on that would be, I mean, insane, because I think it had like 2 or 3 good stats and you just had to reroll 1. So
yeah, it's insane. Just roll the injured and boom.
Yeah, injured. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy. But obviously Helltide is going to be even +2 levels even higher. So they're going to be like 55 in the Helltide. What will be your strategy in the Helltide? Like, do you just... I mean, there's these screaming Hellveins, right? Like they can get you some Forgotten Souls. I think you can kill trash. We went there like pretty early, like 40-something, 47 or something.
Yeah, it's really not. Again, it's similar to the PvP zone because it's not going to scale, so it's not too bad. If you see the boss run the other way,
yeah, he's like 70. He's like 74 or 72.
We lost a hardcore friend to the boss one
Rest
time.
in pieces.
So.
But it's going to be less efficient for XP, but you really can't. The Forgotten Souls are irreplaceable. So, depending on the rotation, if it fits into your route, if you see a Helltide pop up, it's definitely beneficial to at least stock up on some souls.
Yeah, and you also get a lot of elixirs and a lot of legendaries that you might need from the build. Like out of those chests, like I think we opened like actually 2 mystery chests that we got like 6 elixirs each or something, and well, I was on the Necro. I actually got like the max resource elixirs I could use for the next Capstone dungeon and stuff. It was it was really good.
That's so sick, dude. Yeah.
So and you can share those, right? Like the elixirs, they are not a compound, so there's like big advantage for group as well. Like you get like if you open the mystic chest, like you get like 6 elixirs on like 4 players. I mean, chances are pretty high you're gonna get some good ones.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. You want to get the lucky hit on the rogues, and you want to get the resource. Max resource on the Necros.
900 armor.
Yeah,
900 armor is good on everybody, right?
Yeah, we had that on our Druid. I think that was also amazing because he was just like a tank and the rest bot and was working pretty good.
Exactly.
So yeah, I also feel like 100%, man, that Helltide, like maybe between those levels before you transition into Nightmare Dungeons is the play. And I mean, you're gonna get it there because it's gonna take at least some time to level from like 43 to like 50.
Yeah, the thing is if you're there early, you probably won't see anybody. So
I think the last one that you got to think about is Legion events and the world boss. And I don't think Legion events are necessarily worth it until more people get into tier 3. So if you're running like kind of mid pack or or maybe not like the spear tip of those 100 pushers, then Legion event could be really, really good catch up mechanic. If you are like trying to push the content and you're trying to shoot for that top 100 first 100 slot, then you're probably not going to have enough people in the area to make that content worth it.
Yeah, I think
Good point.
you even fail it, right? Like I remember doing this in some of the
It's
testing
possible to
phases
fail
where
it.
there was like 10 players in the entire world, and it was like, well, yeah, okay, it's pretty rough doing the Legion event, completing it at a low level. There's no players there, so yeah. But
Yeah.
World Boss, like, I never
World
tried
Boss-
it.
So thinking about World Boss is personally, now that they've buffed Whisper Trees, I don't think it's worth it until you get to tier 4 and other people are in tier 4. Because you get the Worldtier, the World Boss drop, the Grand Cache, once a
Mhm.
week, right?
True.
So you want that Grand Cache, you want the biggest cache that you can get. You don't want to, use it way too early when you're low level. You want to get like the best item drop that you can to provide you with that last boost that you need.
Yeah, I think World Tier 4 is definitely the place to be doing that, for sure.
Yeah, I haven't really thought about World Boss in my book. It was just ignore it, like blast 100 first, do
Yeah.
World Boss later. Like,
Yeah.
what do you even
Unless
get
you
there? I mean,
need-
you get the cash, okay, you get some legendaries, but it's not worth it. You can just do the dungeon and you
You
get
find more legendaries just doing dungeons.
Yeah, exactly.
And you get XP.
I
in
could-
the World Boss, you don't get anything. Like, there's no XP there, as
No.
far as I know. Maybe you get like.
Well, you
Ah,
can kill it in like 2 hits, you know.
You get a unique like cosmetic if you just like a 1 in 100 chance to drop it or something.
not gonna
like that.
give any
I don't
XP.
see.
We don't know what they're gonna do to change the world bosses.
I
yet,
don't see
guys,
any
you know?
incentive to do world bosses.
Yeah, okay.
And
know
that's
on
why I think
launch-
they're gonna add something. That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
Maybe.
That would be
We'll
interesting.
see. We'll see
I
in
mean,
2
they do
days.
need to spice up the world boss fight for sure.
Yeah.
It's a loop pinata.
It
They
is.
gotta change something, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what they do. But okay, so and then like let's say you're 50, you did some Helltides in between, you did some PvP zone to get some gear, and now you're 50 and you completed some whispers, you got your first sigils. Like I think they're level 1 out of the 3. Maybe they can go up to like 3, but I think okay. I mean, you should be doing as low as possible, right? Because like there's no reason to do tier 3. Like just do tier 1, right?
Yeah, okay. So when it comes to like hitting 50, you start getting Paragon points, and you're thinking, oh, should I do the Renown to get those 4 Paragon
Oh,
points? It's not worth it. Not at all. So you have 900 Paragon or 900 Renown to get the second skill point. To get that next 1100 Renown is going to take way too much time away from leveling and just getting another level versus getting the 4 Paragon points from the Renown.
Yeah, 100%.
So-
Just for context, like when I did my 52 hours 100 on launch, I also didn't do any of my. I mean, I did +3 in all areas, and that's what I would recommend doing now as well, because you get 2.5 already. So you just do like a couple strongholds in every area, and you're done pretty much. And then you just ignore Renown if you want to have a chance to be like an early 100, because otherwise it just takes way too long. And it takes way longer to do the Renown for like, what is it? 4 Paragon points per region, then just do another level and be like +1 level in the same time, and you get the same reward anyway.
Yeah.
So it's just like
Another-
just ignore it, I think.
And since we're coming up toward the end of the podcast, I did want to mention, since we haven't mentioned this, and they've mentioned this too, that you want to log in with the character that has the most progression, or characters that have the most like progression done for you, so that you can skip the campaign, so you can have all your altars that you have collected across your various characters, and map exploration. Like that will all carry over. Make sure you log in after the patch hits. So maybe you want to log in on the 19th or something, and get that in. But I think here we've kind of come to a good point to where you get Nightmare Dungeons to level up to the level you need. At that point, go World Tier 4 or go do the Capstone to World Tier 4. Once again, you're doing Nightmare Dungeons in World Tier 4 because of how much they've buffed the XP.
Yeah. If you still have a few
And,
minutes, like when would you
yeah.
think would be the best time to transition to T4? So you're starting at 50, you're starting the Nightmare Dungeon grind, obviously. and you're getting some upgrades, you're getting some glyphs, and then like I think the capstone is like 73?
70.
Oh, 70, yeah, okay, 70. So which character level roughly do you guys think would be, I mean, not the minimum, like a comfortable kind of level, or when do you it, and when would you recommend doing it?
Yeah, good question. So we've tested some things at like 52. The Be Truth tried the Necro at 52. I think yeah, it was pretty brutal.
I got close a couple times, but with no movement speed and no defensive stats, and just a big sword, I mean, you're not going to be able to avoid all the mechanics.
So I think it depends on the gear you get. If you have some really like, if you have all like that crossbow, for example, if you have stuff like that across everybody on your team, I think you could probably do it earlier. But a safe bet would be like 55, 56, 57, around those levels. Just like the first capstone where you're, we were talking about like doing it at 36 versus 50, kind of the same level difference here. Except we're talking about doing it at like 38 for the season, so about 12 level difference. So about that same level difference for the next capstone.
And I guess
it's reasonable.
And I guess ideally you would be like, I mean, like most sacred items by that point, at least armory and weapon, maybe not the jewelry pieces that you might have imprinted some stuff on. I remember I had those in normal still, but like weapon and the chest and like the big armor pieces, I think it's really important to have those sacred before you attempt the T4 capstone dungeon. And well, then you transition, like you beat the boss, and in T4, like just to really quickly touch on, like what do you do when you go T4? I think it's very similar to Tier 3, or is there like any differences that you guys do?
It's almost the same.
It's pretty much the same, yeah.
So Kor Dragan up to do like what is it, like 63 for sacred, so like 60 until 60.
No, it's only 60. It's only 60 for ancestral.
Oh, it's only 60, yeah. So you're always going to be almost there, like 62 Kor Dragan, like 59 or something, and then boom.
Once you get to 60 and you can get your drops, you can move out of there. If you're in hardcore, I probably wouldn't even bother moving to Tier 4 until you are 60. Maybe even a little bit
at the earliest.
Just to be safe, because there's a lot of stuff in Tier 4 that will one-shot you. But yeah, you want to get your whisper trees done. If you don't have the sigil powder, which you should if you're in a group of 4. If you're in a group of 4, you probably didn't need to re-roll any sigils or anything like that. So
you just should salvage all your 1, 2, and 3 sigils that you have from T3, and then you can craft a level 20 key in T4, and then you just blast nightmare dungeons all the way to 100, pretty much.
That's I mean, with the mechanics of the system right now, that's.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't change this like resetting strat, obviously, like you're just gonna, whatever meta dungeon is gonna come up after a couple hours, that's when you're gonna run 4 men until 100. We'll see.
Yeah, it'll be good.
One last question I have, talking about changes. Like I know that you, like Truth, and I think also you, Jim, you both made a video about the current bell resetting strat / meta. After every dungeon, or even inviting your friends. I don't know, do you want to give a short TLDR what your opinion is on that, or how it works, or something?
Well, Blizzard's aware, so hopefully they fix it. But basically, you can finish a stronghold, you kill the boss, you do not click the bell, but one person, this person is going to be your, I don't know, guinea pig or person that's going to fall behind on levels, and they are going to leave party, so they have not completed the stronghold. It will kick them out of the stronghold, and they will not get the completion credit. The other 3 can turn in the completion credit and then join the person that does not have the completion credit and redo the stronghold and get the completion credit again. And except for that one person, that a guinea pig has to leave party again and not get the completion credit. And you can continuously do that. The bigger issue with that is that you could have multiple groups doing this and having one person, say us, streamers, join in on those completion credits and just literally be in a completion credit loot simulator. And as you
don't even need a lot of people to do it.
Yeah.
And they don't even have to be like they don't have to be speedrunners. They don't have to be like really experts at the game. A casual player can complete Nostrava at level 15. You know, when you get to whatever level you get to, 35, 50, and you just go back to whatever their world tier is, tier 1, they can complete it. It's the same experience on tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, or tier 4. And it can go from 1 to 50 in, I think, an hour.
Yeah.
And it can go from 50 to 60 in probably about the same time. You could probably get up, efficient. It's probably efficient up to about level 80. And then it probably starts to level off after that. Well, maybe 70. I think 70 is where it really, because that experience spike is just massive at 70. I don't think it keeps up after that.
The only so people brought up some good points when I posted that video. Is like, okay, you're gonna get a bunch of experience, but you're not gonna get any items while doing that.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, you can get them later with high level.
So the worst culprit of this would likely be Temple of Rot, because there is that resplendent chest right there, right next to the bell. So every single time you leave, you load in, whoever does the entire stronghold, and then all 3 people join in, that person leaves, and they all open up the resplendent chest and ring the bell.
The one thing that one person will fall behind on is going to be gold and mats. Those are the 2 things that you will be struggling on. But
Sure.
That's an insane strategy, of course.
It's terrible.
And obviously,
it's terrible.
Yeah, it is not fun because you're basically gonna play menu simulator, right? You're just gonna quick. If you take this to the max, like you're just sitting there, quick joining people that have it done.
Teo's season 1, 99.
Well, he at least killed the monster. All you do is ring the. Teo killed Diablo. He had his big Javazon and the 2-shot Diablo still. But yeah, and now, well, like you're just in the menu and, well, you are like ringing some bells and that's it.
I mean, yeah. It's pretty rough.
I don't want the race to be like that, obviously. That's stupid.
That would be pretty terrible.
Like, you're not playing the game, man. You're just in the menu. And, well, but unfortunately, like with the nature of these things and the prestige that goes with it, like I guess some people will just do it. And
I don't know if people that do take advantage of it, like exploit it, should really be considered.
Yeah, I mean it's a game mechanic, but yeah, I agree. I mean, there's no official race, so they're not gonna ban anybody. People like it's just a game mechanic. But
just keeping track of it. You know, if anybody's keeping track of things, you know.
Yeah, there's
Rob's just talking about, you know, the viewership that comes with getting the first 100.
Well, that is
he knows
how much viewers you're gonna get with.
But you see how mad people. You see how mad people were already when we did this thing in Diablo 2 with Teo. Like when he reached 99 on the first letter. Like, yeah, people just they just don't like this stuff. And I mean, like now it's really stupid. Like this is just a whole nother level of what D2 was, because you don't even kill anything. You're just like menu simulator and getting carried. That's it.
Yep.
It's so much worse.
So.
But yeah, do you think there's a good chance we're going to see a fix? Because season starts in a few days.
I hope so.
I mean, we'll see in 2 days on the patch notes, won't we?
Yeah, I mean, like in worst case,
as much as I could.
Yeah, in worst case, it's really like also like casts a big shadow over all the work that you guys have been doing here, like figuring out all this like optimal speedrun strategies, like a proper run, you know, like actually playing the game. And
yeah, we're trying to find out how to play the game. Yeah,
exactly.
If you want to have fun, listen to what we said and do what we said to do.
Otherwise, you can ring the bell.
Otherwise, ring the bell and.
I mean, it seems like a pretty quick fix, right? You only get the reward once from ringing the bells. Flip a code, right?
Yeah, but sometimes even a
0 change it to a 1. That's it.
Sometimes even a quick fix like that can take a few weeks. So I don't know.
I
have my fingers crossed, man. I hope they fix it. But if they're not going to fix it, the person who's going to win is going to do it.
Probably.
For sure. Yeah. So
less RNG.
On that note, or on that bell ring, that's going to do it from us. We're going to actually probably do a run ourselves. I know you were practicing, Rob. So
yeah, a question that many viewers had. So are you going to do like the speedrun with 10 skill points and stuff? Or are you going to like try to, because I think that's interesting, like really to most people is like a season realistic scenario where you don't have materials, you don't have gold. Like you only use what you get. So what's your plan? Are you going to do like the speedrun rules, or are you going to try like a season run?
yeah, we're gonna be doing a season run.
Okay, yeah.
So 5
Perfect.
skills.
I'll be watching as well, man, because that's the most interesting. And
I don't know how much we're going to keep track of our.
You can't keep track of our gold and mats. That's a little
well,
bit
you
difficult.
can check later
on
roughly
but-
like how much you
Yeah,
had
we'll
in the
just play
start.
play it conservative.
Yeah,
I
play it
think if
conservative.
we're
Like,
really
I
trying
don't
to get a
think
good idea.
Yeah, I don't think you can buy like 10 items, for example, for 200k.
No.
That's not going to work. But you can like roughly check how much million gold you had at the start of the run when you're just starting out, I think. And yeah, that would be really awesome to see. And yeah, check out everybody.
I mean, to get 200k, you just make 3 characters and collect the renown.
Oh yeah, that's.
And he's not wrong.
Yeah, I saw that, man. Holy shit! Yeah, if that works. Another thing to fix, maybe. You just keep creating characters and collect the renown rewards.
We'll see, man.
Yeah, we'll see.
We will see.
Interesting times, man. I'm hyped, guys. Can't wait. Thanks for sharing all this. Thanks for all the insights and the strategies. GG, my friends.
Yeah, thanks
GG, guys.
Yeah, like all
Thanks
of us
for
getting
hanging out.
together. This is great.
That was
Take care,
fun.
my friends.
See you in the race.
Bye.
See you guys.
If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a like or a comment. I'm also live on Twitch almost every day, so come and say hi.